Yeah, but there's this lot that all should be sitting there, and all we have to do is actually put them in bags and tick them off as you go. Hi, I'm Martin from Special Branch Trees. We're a small tree nursery based in Falmer, in Stanmer Park, just on the fringes of Brighton, easily accessible. As opposed to other tree nurseries, we grow trees from seed, and I'll show you how we grow trees from seed. It starts in about July when we collect seed, goes right through to about November as seed becomes ready on the trees. There are cones we could use, there are the winged seeds, fruits and nuts. They're essentially the four families, and they get processed slightly differently, so by taking the skins off fruits, etc., etc. When we come to process them, we put them in these little bags. We put them in these stratification boxes over winter. And the idea of that is to mimic nature by giving them about 10 to 12 weeks of cold. And we put them in with a little bit of mud and keep them damp. Obviously label them so we know which ones are which. And we keep them submerged in the mud in these boxes till about February, when we have a wonderful job of looking to see what's growing. We can open out the bags and you can see little tendrils, which is just like having presents, basically. The next stage in our tree nursery, after the seed has germinated, we put them out into little boxes, which effectively are seed trays. We put the mesh on top of them so that the wildlife doesn't eat them immediately, and we'll leave them in here for a few months, 3 or 4 months. We wait until the seedlings have grown up to a certain height before we plant them out into beds, basically, it's just to get them off the ground. Some of these are nuts, and the nuts have a different process in stratification. You can actually just put them straight in the box wherever you want to plant them, and then just cover it up with soil, and then of course put gauze over the top of it, or mesh over the top of it, because squirrels and other wildlife will just take them straight out again. We do have a slightly different method for some silver birch that we've tried here, because the silver birch, the seed is microscopic. It just appears as almost like dust, and so it's not feasible necessarily to put it in a pot. What we've actually done is just direct sow it as you would do a veg or flower seed. So we put it straight into a seed tray with a bit of sand, and these are coming. So these are coming through now. So they've only been in there about a month or two. We put a lid on the top of these anyway, but they look very small at the moment, but they will grow exponentially. Trees have all got different characteristics anyway of what they want, where they want to be, and how they're going to grow. If you work on the premise of the germination premise of, as I said, just overwintering them, cold and damp, and then bringing them to the warm, then at least you've got them off the ground. And then where you want to site them, the ground, and south-facing shade or whatever, then you want to investigate a little further, because the worst thing would be to actually grow the tree yourself and put it in a place it won't grow, and the wrong soil. After the seeds have sprouted, we leave them for a while, as I said, in those seed trays, and when it gets to probably about mid-May, the first lot will actually be ready to transplant. They're usually black form because it's very early, usually the earliest one, and so from about mid-May we take them from their boxes, and we then individually hand plant them into these seedling beds. Now these here are black form. They're planted out about so far apart. We take our own compost and our own leaf mould to refresh the bed as well. So we dig a trench down, put leaf mould in the bottom, then put some of our own compost in there, and then we plant them out basically all the way along here. These two beds are basically the stuff that germinated from last year. The acorns will take a little while to get going, so for an acorn you'd say you wouldn't need to put it in the box because it's a nut, so you can put it in pots or in trays basically. Then you'll cover it with the mesh. You're looking at probably say about March or April, you'll get some degree of germination. If you've put in about 100 acorns, maybe you'll get, or 10 or 20 or something, you may get a lot more. You're going to leave that until probably about June to July. Then you'll have a tray basically full of acorns with a little bit of seed, with a little bit of root underneath them. You then need to, we'd usually do it by hand because you can feel them all there anyway. Really, you can, if you dip your hand into the tray, you can feel the root underneath, and then pull. Then you can expose the acorn and the root out, and then, well, we would put them in beds basically anyway. So I'm not sure if there are any down here, but we put them in beds in lines, and do the same process: bit of leaf mould, bit of compost, give them a bit better soil. But if you're doing it on a smaller scale, you can just put them in the pots basically anyway, really. So put them into, you can have them in individual 3 or 4 inch pots, and then once they're in the pot, that's it until such time as you want to plant them out, which would be from probably about that onwards. Or alternatively, you might want to keep them in your back garden, in which case they'll just be potted up and up and up basically until you're in something that can't move. So after you've put the acorn in the pot, which is now a small oak tree, essentially you don't want it to become too damp and you don't want it to become too dry. So you just generally are leaving it to basically get on with itself anyway, but don't let it get waterlogged, as it could do at this time of year if you just left it outside. And the main problem would be in spring or summer, because it's in a pot, it'll dry out a lot quicker. So if you've got it, say, in a pot sitting on the ground, and you're worried about it waterlogging, raise it up a little bit off the ground, at least it'll drain out a little bit. Alternatively, if you're going away and you're worried about it drying out, then just put it in a tray with a little bit of grit and some water in the tray.